What is going on, everybody? Coming at you with some more One Piece gameplay. This one is between a fan favorite, the Blurple Crocodile, against the red-black Garp. And I know you guys love seeing the blue-purple Crocodile content, and I hope you guys like seeing the Garp. I think my friend is really enamored with the deck, and I think it's a really fun deck to play against. It's a fun deck to play, and I just think that there's lots of different versatilities in both deck builds, and that's one thing that I love about the game so far is there's so much versatility into what you can put in your deck and still be successful. Just a reminder, if you do like the content, please make sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel. I really do appreciate it. I'm working on putting out lots of content, as well as some new, fresh content in the future that I've been working on. But with no further ado, we're going to hop into the game here. And I accidentally gave myself 5 life, but that will be corrected in a second here. We will figure that out. I just I was playing like Shanks before that, so I was just used to dealing out 5 life, and so I just was like, I completely forgot about it. And we end up catching it eventually. So I'll swing 6 here at the Garp, and he's going to block it. Then I'll pay 1 to play a Trafalgar Law, and this is a pretty good start for me. I have a blocker, and I also have a Desert Spada in hand, and I'm okay if my blockers die, because that's what they're meant to do. All my blockers are meant to do in this deck is to eat up their Dawn resources. So as long as I'm forcing them to commit their Dawn to deal with my blockers, eventually there will come a time in the game where I will have card advantage and I'll have board advantage, because if they can't always just continue to commit cards. So they're going to play the Meteor Volcano to pop my Law, which is fine. That's 2 Dawn committed. And I will pay 1 for a Desert Spada, but before I do that, I will put the life back on, and then I'll Desert Spada. So we do correct that, and I'll look at top 3 here. Again, just so he's top 5, but top 3 here, almost look top 5, and then we're gonna see the order. So I'll replace, and I have 4 cards in hand, so I will draw to be at 5 cards, and wait for my opponent to make a maneuver, and they'll play a Monkey D. Garp and pass turn back to me. So in this situation, me playing anything isn't really smart at this point. So I'm just going to swing 6 at Garp here. I want to force cards out of his hand, but he's going to end up actually taking that one, which surprised me a little bit. I didn't think that he'd actually end up taking it. And then I'll pass back turn, because again, this Garp, I can't really play anything on board unless I can deal with it. So like, I have a 7-drop king in my hand right now that I'm sitting on, and I'm waiting to get to like my 9 Dawn turn, because then I can pop at least 2 bodies, and this Garp will be gone, or I can at least pop the like the Garp here. So if he opts to swing with it this turn, then I can Desert Spada to get out of it, and then I can also just pop it. So it's not a huge deal. So he's gonna go and put 2 Dawn underneath it and swing at me, and I'm going to counter 2k with Mr. Bon Cray, and then he's got 4 Dawn active, so a couple of things could come down. So in this deck, your 4 Dawn, you're going to want to use it on your Borsalinos and your Kuzans. But we're going to see 2 Dawn slot under Garp here, and swing 7k, and I'll pay 1 to play a Spada, reveal top 3 here, and I'll rearrange them. And then I will draw off the Crocodile effect, and I'll pitch a Shiki. I mean, you can use it in this situation to pop the Nami next turn, but I don't know if I need to. Just because I have a 7-drop king coming out, and I could potentially clear the entire board here if I played it properly. I opted to not, but I'll swing 6 and they'll block it, which is completely fine. So I'm going to pay 3 here to play a Missile Sunday. And I know this Missile Sunday is going to die on the Garp swing, but it's going to grab me back one of my Spadas, so that's completely fine. And I know that next turn I have that 7-drop king, so I'm going to be able to play it and clear this Nami and something else. So that's what I'm waiting for. I'm just waiting for a situation where I can pop these 2 bodies. I really don't like taking life with this deck. I could have played the 7-drop king here and then taken a life next turn. Like, I could have swung 5 at Garp, he blocked it, played the 7-drop king, but then I could have just gotten Sakazuki. So he's gonna go ahead and Sakazuki my Missile Sunday here, which is fine. I'm gonna use it to grab back a Desert Spada. And then he's going to use the Nami to slot Dawn under Garp here. But he's going to opt to not use the Sakazuki effect. He's going to swing at me. He didn't pop my Missile Sunday, which is crazy, I thought. So I'm going to use a Love Beam. And I'll draw off Love Beam first, then off my leader effect, because I was at 3 cards in hand, and my turn. He opted to not swing to give me the value of a Missile Sunday. But I'm in a position now where I can actually make plays. So I'm gonna go ahead and pay 7 here. To drop a 7-drop king to pop the Garp and the Nami, and then I'll -2 Dawn. And then I'll swing my Croc at leader here and force some cards out of hand if I can. And then again, if my Missile Sunday dies this turn, that's completely fine. I'll be okay with just grabbing back a Love Beam. My 7-drop king could die here, which is something that I'm prepared for. But it bought me an additional turn, and I'm currently sitting in a spot where my opponent's at 2 life, and I have 4 life. And it's... Yes, there's a Sakazuki out here, but he's got to kind of deal with my king if he wants to swing with the Sakazuki ever. So he's going to go ahead and slot a bunch of Dawn underneath the Garp, it looks like. Or maybe it's the Sakazuki, I'm not 100% sure. Under the Garp. But he's going to give that minus to the king, so he's going to put him to 3 cost. And then he's going to drop a Kobe here to pop my king. And he's going to pitch his Kobe, so just getting rid of a lot of my pressure on the board. He basically had to, else he was in a position where he could potentially be in a lot of trouble. And then he'll swing 7, and I'll block, I think that with Missile Sunday here. I end up actually countering out of it, and then he swings, and I'll block Missile Sunday, and I'll grab back the Love Beam. And then this way, he's going to swing Zoro at me, which I wasn't prepared for, but I'll end up countering out of the Zoro swing. I wasn't sure that he is actually playing Zoro in this list. I didn't see any lists previously that actually ever played Zoro, so that was a bit of a surprise for me. I wasn't planning for it. So I'll play Missile Sunday here, and then I'll swing 7 at the Zoro. I really don't want it to stay on board, so he's going to let it go. And then I'll leave 4 on active here, because again, he just played a Kobe, and he played a Sakazuki, so I mean, if he has another Sakazuki and another Kobe in hand after pitching the Kobe, or a Meteor Volcano, then that's just, you know, that's just my luck he has those cards available. But at least I'm in a position now where I can counter out a swing with, like, a Love Beam, and then I can block with a Missile Sunday, and then I might only have to take 1 life swing here, and then next turn I can just potentially just start swinging out his life, forcing cards out of his hand. But he will give -1 to my Missile Sunday, and then that puts her in range to get Meteor Volcanoed if he decides to slot another Dawn or his Garp. So he slots Dawn or his Garp. Missile Sunday is now at 1 cost. So she's down to 1. And then we're going to see the Meteor Volcano to pop the Missile Sunday, which is, you know, they're just seeing like every single removal card in their deck this game so far. So that's been pretty tough to deal with. But it is what it is. You know, I have cards in my trash that are value, so they're gonna swing 6 at me. I'm gonna pay 1 for a Desert Spada. I'm going to reveal the top 3 cards of my deck, and I'm going to rearrange, and then I'm gonna draw off my leader effect here. And then he's gonna swing Sakazuki at me, and I'll pay 2 for a Love Mellow. And then because I have 3 cards, I'm gonna draw again, and then I'm gonna pitch a Sasuke to counter out the Garp, and he'll play a 7k Smoker. So in the position that I'm in right now, I'm not in a super great spot, but he's finally starting to run low on resources in his hand after removing everything here. And so I'm like thinking to myself, I have to deal with this Kobe. So I'm going to swing 6 at 4, just evens on evens, just because I want to get that body off the board. And I'm going to pay 1 to play a Daz Bones to grab back a Spada. And while I know that Daz Bones is going to give the Smoker double attack, I'm fairly confident because of my hand that I can counter out of the Smoker attack, because it's just like I have like so many counter cards in hand. That's like all I have in hand right now is just like counters. So he's gonna do it underneath my minus my Daz Bones to 0, and then he's gonna swing. And I think it's a bit of a mistake, so I'm gonna Spada first, reveal my top 3, and then rearrange here. I'm not gonna opt to draw off the leader. I'll draw the leader effect there first for that one. Then I'll pay 2 for a Love Mellow, and then I'll draw off the Love Mellow because I have 3 cards in hand. And then I'll pay 2 again. Pay 1 for a Blast Breath. And I'll return a Dawn here. And then I'll pay 2 for another Love Mellow. And yes, I've lost a lot of resources for that. And he will swing Sakazuki at me, which is fine afterwards. And I was just saying, like, with this deck, like, you have to be careful. Like, if I had like a really strong answer to that play, like the next turn, like if I had a Rush Kaido, for example, I could have like popped the Sakazuki, and then I'll swung over the Smoker, and he would have been in like a really rough situation. Like if I have Rush Kaido in my hand right now, this game would potentially be over. But all I have is Queen, so I will play Queen to draw 2, trash 1. Unfortunately, I haven't really seen any of my Rush Kaidos that I'm trying in this list. I think it definitely is needed to have some more removal. I will swing on the Smoker, he'll double counter out, and I do have a blocker now to protect against the Smoker double attack. At this stage in the game, like, I feel like I've exhausted most of his removal cards, because, like, he's used so much, but then he just jet pistols my queen, and I'm like, okay, great, there's another removal card. He's just been like grabbing like every single removal card possible, and then he will swing at my my life, and I'll have to take both of them, unfortunately. I will be able to counter out of the Sakazuki and the Garp swings. So he swings with Sakazuki here, and I'll pay 1 to Blast Breath that, and then he'll swing with Garp, and I'll counter out with Crocodile. And I'll draw a card here. So yeah, I'm in a spot where he's got 1 card in hand, so I know I can kill the Smoker here pretty easily. So I'm just kind of managing my Dawn right now, seeing what I can play with the cards that I have in my hand. So I'll pay a Law, and then I'll play Missile Sunday, and then I'm going to slot 4 Dawn and swing over the Smoker here. And then I'll pass turn back to my opponent. Again, I'm in a position now where I have a blocker. I still have 2 blockers. I have 2 non-active, and he's got 2 cards in hand. So at this point, I can start generating advantage over my opponent, because if he does swing the Sakazuki, like whatever he plays here this turn, if he removes one of my blockers, that's completely fine. I have enough to counter in my hand his next swing, and then I can swing over his Sakazuki, because again, he's down to 2 cards in hand. So if he plays anything, I know his Sakazuki's dead in the water. So he's just dividing up his Dawn right now. And I'm going to be able to grab back a Love Beam off of my Missile Sunday, regardless of how it dies, which is nice. He's going to end up minusing 3 Dawn and then swinging. I'm going to pop my Missile Sunday, because I'm like, I don't want it to die to like a Garp or something, or a Kobe if he's got another one. So I'll grab back the Love Mellow. And then I have this Law active here to swing over to block the Sakazuki, and then I'll be able to swing over it next turn. So I'm thinking about countering out of it first, but I end up deciding to block it, I believe, because I'm like, okay, well, there's nothing that he can really play that threatens me. And then he plays this Monkey D Garp super rare, which I wasn't really expecting. Again, he's got 1 card in hand, so I'm like, well, I'm pretty sure that I can clear up this Sakazuki here. Unfortunately, whatever blocker I play is probably going to die. He's got 2 non-active, so I'd use a bit more than I want to clear up the Sakazuki, because I'm worried about a Meteor Volcano, just because he's had like everything available, so I had to go to like the 4K threshold above, just because he's had every card that he's needed so far to to kill my board. So at this point, I'm just kind of like, oof, feeling pretty rough. So he's gonna swing 5. I'm gonna use a Queen to counter out of that, and that in retrospect was a mistake. I probably shouldn't have done that. And then he swings 5 at me, and then I just pay. Sorry, he swings at me with 6k plus 5 Dawns, 11k. I use Love Beam for 9, and then I use X-Drake, and I use Inazuma, and I'm just pitching all my blockers here, because I'm just like, yeah, they're probably just gonna get destroyed anyways. I don't really know what else I can play. And he goes ahead and plays a Hina here, which freezes characters if their cost is below a certain amount, which is completely fine. And I'm just kind of thinking back to myself, like, there are so many situations in this game where like, he's got 2 cards in hand. He's got 1 card in hand, so I can pop this. He's not going to block it, which means that he probably has another one in his hand. And then I pass back. I have 2 life, and I have a ton of Dawn active, and I have a ton of counter cards in hand right now. So I know that I can definitely survive a 15k swing. And if he swings a blocker, I'll just swing over it, and then I'll be able to play some blockers next turn, because I'm just playing so many blockers in this list. So he goes ahead and he slots to 10. I go ahead and I pay 2 for a Hell's Judgment, and then I put Mr. Bon Cray, and so now the Hina is -3, and then I counter out of the attack successfully. And then he goes ahead and plays another Garp, which is, you know, again, that's the only reason why he lets that go, I guess, because there's no counter on the card, and it puts in work for sure. And I think it's 6 at leader, and I probably shouldn't have swung leader here, because I'm just giving him cards to hand right now. And unfortunately, because I pitched all of my blockers earlier, I have no blockers to play. And if I did have blockers, I'd actually be in a situation where I could potentially win the game. So I go ahead and I pay 5 for a Croc just to put pressure on the board if he does swing. I have a ton of Dawn active still, so I can counter out my opponent's swings. He does have 3 potential swings at me here. But I guess I'm just going to lose my Croc because of how the Garp works. He's got so much removal here, and while this is a grind fest, like, in my mind, if I had some more removal cards, maybe, like, if I had, like, seen, like, the Rush Kaido, and I'm getting pretty low on my deck, so, not seen it yet, unfortunately, but he doesn't go ahead and pop my Crocodile, and then he's just gonna separate some Dawn out here. I have enough to counter out one of the swings, for sure. It just depends if he wants to turn his blocker sideways. He could potentially go for game. He's gonna swing 6 at me, which is taken by me because I really didn't want to burn like a blast breath on on a 6k swing, unfortunately. And I think that's what's important against this deck is, like, he's just looking at my Dawn card. But I think what's important against this deck is to swing like 5ks. That's why Zoro's a good matchup into this, unless you're seeing like your Desert Spot a lot and your Mr. Bones, because those cards just recycle and those are really value against Zoro. So I mean, in that circumstance, it's not super great, but there definitely are some situations where there are better situations, and he's gonna not pop anything with the Kobe. He's just gonna play it for pressure, which I think is the right call because this turn I'll be able to clear one of his blockers by swinging at 6. And this will give him extra pressure on the board and make it so that I'm unable to kill, because I really should have swung 6 with the Bones first, and I swing with the leader first, and that's just a big mistake because I could have swung with Mr. Bones first, and then I could have gotten an extra swing, but he blocks with Hina, and then he tells me that I cannot attack, which is rough. Yeah, you got to be mindful of those effects. Bit of a misplay there from me. Just pitching my blockers, unfortunately. I think in this matchup, just having as many blockers as possible just ends up winning me the game eventually, because they can go offensive and defensive. But we'll pay 1 for a Law, which I know is going to get popped by the Garp. And then we'll pay 5 for another Vanilla Croc, just for pressure, because again, like, if my opponent isn't careful this turn and they don't like remove my Croc, and they could just go 15 for game, but I have 3 Dawn active, I have a blocker, so they need to use some kind of removal for it. And at this point, I'm thinking to myself, there's no way they have another removal card in hand. I mean, they could have a Meteor Volcano and it could just be game. So they'd have to use the Garp effect, turning him sideways to pop my Law. So they're gonna put a Dawn or their Kobe to minus a cost on the Law, and I'm gonna opt to just block it because I know it'll die to Garp. But in retrospect, I probably should have countered it. He's gonna swing 5 at me, and I'll use a Gum Gum Rain to counter it, and I'll draw a card off my leader effect. And at this point, I have like nothing in hand. I mean, a Deathwing would be really nice, but I definitely don't have one of those. And then he's gonna slot under all of his Dawn underneath his Garp. I'll pay 2, and yeah, I got nothing to counter out, and that's just game. I'm not that far off, honestly. I'm not that far off countering out, but close game all in all. Yeah. If I had seen, like, I mean, I have what, 9, 11, and then I draw all the X-Drake. That's 13. So yeah, I wasn't too far off countering out. I just probably needed like 1 more event card. I was hoping that I saw like another Blast Breath on top. If I did, then I'm just chilling and I've got game, but otherwise I didn't. So that's gonna be the match between Garp and Croc. I hope you guys enjoyed, and until next time, Monty out.